Does any of this sound familiar to you?
How many sentences do our paragraphs have to be anyway?
When is this assignment even due? I totally don't even understand this assignment. What are we supposed to even do anyway and stuff?
If you've heard these lines from students over and over and over again until you're losing your dang hair, they might just be suffering from instructionitis. Stick with me, and let's talk about what we can do to combat this terrible affliction. Hi, and welcome to Classroom Confidential. My name is Christopher Youngren, and I'm a middle school ELA teacher in Tucson, Arizona. If this is your first time joining me, then hey, welcome. I'm glad to have you here. So I was giving a test once, and a student about 5 minutes into it brings the test up, and apparently he's done. And I start reviewing it, and I realize that he's got an entire section wrong simply because he did not read the instructions. And I call him back up and I said, dude, what are you doing here? I said, you missed all of these questions and you ended up getting a 70% because you weren't reading the instructions. And he's like, 70% is a good enough grade. And the important thing is I finished first. And I said, no, that's not the important thing. And I said, look, that would be like running in a marathon and you jump in a cab at the starting line and you take the cab to the finish line and you jump out and you win the race. He's like, that's a great idea. I said, no, it's not a great idea. You may have crossed the finish line first, but you didn't follow the rules. You didn't play the game correctly, so it doesn't count. And he's not the only student that suffers from this terrible affliction of instructionitis. And I do want to differentiate between the students who really need the extra help in understanding the instructions and those who are just blazing right past them and getting into the assignment so they can get it over with as quickly as possible and just not paying attention. There's obviously a difference, and I'm not suggesting that you don't take the extra time to help those who need it. But those who are just being lazy or those who are just trying to get it over with, they are the discussion and the focus of today's video. I don't believe that I'm alone in my frustration over students not reading instructions. It drives me absolutely bonkers. Comment down below and let me know the craziest story you have about a student not reading instructions. But they'll either miss class and then they'll say, what am I supposed to do in this assignment? When you've posted the assignment with full instructions online for them to read. Or they'll email you and say, why did my grade go down? Well, check the grade book and see what was recorded. The thing is, you need to establish a culture of self-reliance from day one. It's the whole give a man a fish, teach a man a fish thing. If you start every single time catering to the students who are clearly asking you what to do when they haven't read the instructions, then you are just breeding a culture of reliance on you rather than reliance on themselves. So this needs to start on day one. Now make sure initially you are covering the instructions thoroughly in class, step by step, part by part, and making sure to leave time to answer questions or provide any clarification that is needed. And then if they have further questions later on, sure, you can answer them. But if they simply come to you and say, what am I supposed to do? I don't get it. What I do is I turn it back on them and I say, well, tell me what you think you're supposed to do as you understand it. And this is going to force them to review the instructions and explain it to you rather than you just feeding it to them because you already fed it to them. And if they weren't listening the first time, what makes you think they're going to listen the second time? So again, put it on them to explain it to you. And if they're off on a couple of pieces, then clarify it for them. But don't just give it to them because you already gave it to them. And if they weren't listening before, why the hell do you think they're going to listen now? Look, the 2020-2021 school year has been a struggle for both teachers and students alike. And as the year goes on, engagement is getting more and more of a challenge. And one of the things that you can do to increase the engagement is make them more reliant on themselves. Make them do the work instead of just spoon feeding it to them. You're going to get a lot more buy-in, a lot more understanding, and a lot more engagement as a result. You know, early in the year, I like to give my students kind of a bogus test, and the instructions will say something like, write down your favorite ice cream flavor or superhero or fruit and put your pencil down. The test is over. And then I'll go on and there'll be a bunch of questions that are designed to just break their brains and totally confuse them. And you will be surprised, or maybe not, at how few students actually put the pencils down because they're so busy reading ahead. They're so focused on the finish line that they are not focused on the now. And then you can have a conversation later about, guys, do you see how important it is to read the ding-dang instructions? If you had just done that, you would have saved yourself a lot of time, a lot of energy, and you would probably be done a lot sooner as a result. Now, once again, I have got to stress how important it is to differentiate in your classroom. I am not talking about the kids that need that extra help. Yes, you absolutely must take the time to work with them slowly and carefully to ensure maximum understanding. But you and I both know those chronic offenders who are simply reaching out to you because they didn't read the instructions. Now, why they're reaching out to you, I don't know, because isn't that more work for them too? If they would just stop and look at what's right in front of them, they would realize they have the answers. And so that's again why it's so important to establish this culture early on. And don't give them the answers. Refer them back to the instructions to the point where they finally understand, oh, I better read the instructions because Mr. Y is not going to tell me. And it may seem rude and it may seem off-putting, but again, what you are cultivating in them is the ability to do it themselves. And I think especially now in this distance learning type scenario, self-reliance and self-motivation and responsibility is something they desperately need because a lot of them are expected to do a lot more than they ever have in a school year before. And if you just hand them everything, I promise you they're going to check out, they're going to glaze over, they're going to stop listening, all right? So you need to make sure that they are meeting you in the middle and they are doing their part to further their own education. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you got something out of this video. If so, do me a favor and smash that like button for me. If you're enjoying my videos, then hey, subscribe to my channel and I'll keep them coming. Take care of yourselves out there. Take care of someone else. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.